to Let's Gay Final Fantasy VI. I'm Johnny Jungleguts, the top-notch gamer, aka the top-notch gamer. And today on the show we are joined by Jasmine Nyende. She's a new media artist, and today you were a model.
Yeah.
A model.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so people ask me to be a part of projects, and I usually say yes.
That's a good strategy for life. What was the what were you modeling for? Where was that?
I was little. It was a '90s inspired like female rap based aesthetic. So I was little Kim.
Oh wow! Oh,
yeah,
okay. Like it was that specific. Everyone had like different specific outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did we have on?
We had Left Eye.
Okay, great.
And I think it's gonna be more people too. So far, Little Kim and Left Eye.
And what's the name of this fashion line or designer or whatever?
No sesso. It
Okay.
means no gender. So it's all of these pieces that are for men and women.
Oh, great.
And have all these different ways that you can wear them. So like they function very uniquely where you can like, it can be a dress one day, or it can be a shirt, or it can just be like a skirt, or it can be like, and all these pieces kind of flow together in that way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And what language is that in, no sesso?
I think Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Is gender sesso? I mean, yeah.
You got me. I can only speak English and not very well, so. So that's really cool. And how'd you get hooked up with that?
I met Pierre, the designer, at Step and Repeat a few months ago, and we started working together. And and so
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's been a great journey.
Where do you think we could pick up some of these No Sesso items once they come out, or are we still
just building the brand still?
Oh yeah.
Just trying to figure out that next step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you, speaking of your brand, I know on Instagram, I think it said you were a new media artist.
Yeah.
Could you tell all the children out on YouTube maybe what that means to you?
Yeah, to me, it just gives me space to do whatever hell I want and still have it be under one title. So new media, like I'm just very interested in, I'm more interested in theory sometimes than I am in actually practicing a lot of my work. Like, I call myself a video artist, but like I'm not very interested in it, like looking, like really, like I don't know, like showing
cinematic.
Yeah. I'm not like interested in like showing like how I can use these programs really well to like give it this like filter. But I'm like more interested in like kind of like thought patterns and like what media can like inspire for someone's like political reasons, and like what does that mean? So like for me, being a new media artist is like I could model and have it being a part of my art practice. I'm an art writer, and like writing is a part of my practice, and so anything related to collaboration and building, and just taking over this media landscape.
Now you said you're interested in theory. I was always really scared when I was in school. I was always really scared of art theory. I thought it was gonna like kill my practice or something like that, because I would be thinking too much about what I was doing while I was doing it. You know what I mean? But I think tell me, like, who are some art theorists or art theories that you're sort of interested in?
Okay, who are some art theorists that I'm interested in? I have this theory that we're all theorists, like we're all creating, and like we're all living by these like, I don't know, by these like weird like unspoken rules that kind of govern the way that we like, I don't know, not even just like respect something as art, but like come to understand what art is. And so I'm very interested in theorists or people that kind of like I don't know, just inspire me and like so let me think, what are some names? Or just like collectives?
Sure, go for it. Lay it on me.
I think Jennifer Moon's a great theorist.
Oh my gosh, Jennifer Moon, so special.
Anyone that can like blend a lot of different like fields of knowledge and a lot of, like, I'm always here for. I feel like fusion is something that I'm very drawn to. Who else? My mama has some really wild theories. Go. I like what she has to say. She sometimes likes my art. She just kind of looks at it and smiles.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I'm glad I'm happy when I make people smile.
Yeah.
Who else? I like young Jasmine, like young me. I think that my like old diaries had some cool theories.
Oh yeah, like what?
I was just like Jasmine. I was just like, I guess like what I used to like think and like the way that like theories about like what I'd be when I was older and or like I used to write a lot about like romance. I used to be really afraid that I'd be alone for a long time. I used to come up with all these like reasons why I'd be alone or something, or like why like things I need to like work on to like be in a relationship. And I'm very fascinated by like what I was like, how I conceptualize love and like how I conceptualize like that has a lot.
And what age was this you were doing this writing?
I've always been writing diaries. So like let me see, when I was like like 12 is when I was like really heavily into my diaries.
But starting even before that and continuing to today, you would say? Not as much anymore.
Not as much. Then once I think 12 is the cutoff because that's when I got like my computer in my room. Yeah. And I stopped all my hobbies just for the internet.
And what year was that you had a computer in your room? Would you say?
What year was that? 2000 and it was a year my niece was born. I think like 2002, 2003.
So like internet, the internet was like sort of popping. I guess it was kind of there. It wasn't where it is today, but it was like sort of popping off at that point.
Yeah.
And where did you wait?
No. It had to be like 2005. 2005.
And did you have internet in your room?
Did I have? Yes.
Yes, you did.
I had a computer with internet in my room.
What about TVs? Did you have it? Were you allowed? One of those kids that was allowed to have a TV in their room?
Yes, I shared a room with someone who was older though.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I got the TV.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Was that your sister or?
Yes, my sister, my older sister.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
I also have 3 siblings, but all sisters.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
And what were the age ranges on those guys?
I'm the youngest, so my oldest sister is. I stopped counting after 33. I'd say she's like 39 now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm 22.
Yeah, so that's a huge age range. Where'd you guys grow up?
Here in LA. I grew up in Compton. I grew up in Compton and then moved to Leimert Park for a few years, and then spent a year in Paramount. So I've been I'm a LA nomad.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up over there?
I mean, it was hard. It was difficult.
It was hard?
I think it was hard because like I've always been very like quiet and very shy and like kind of very like down to just observe, and I feel like growing up there was like this kind of like friction between my family and me and like my brothers who were like more about the streets, and I was just kind of like afraid of like all of that, and so I just spent a lot of time like alone. But I do remember having a lot of friends on the block. Like I'd go out and play.
Sure.
I remember playing a lot of jump rope. Yeah, and then moving a lot also added to like.
But in that same neighborhood?
Well, let me think. Do you mean like my time in Compton? How was that?
Or just the whole thing, but I mean, you were born in sort of. How old were you when you moved out of Compton?
I was 15.
So you were there for a while.
Yeah.
And what was that public school?
I was in public school, but then my mom, in middle school, I went to when I was in 6th grade, my mom would drive me to Bellflower to go to school there, where the schools are better, and that was the reason I wouldn't be teased for like not talking. Sure.
And how far away? How long of a commute was that to Bellflower?
That was 30 minutes, 40 minutes with traffic.
Oh my gosh.
And so my mom would drive me over to Bellflower, and then so that's where I was from. So that was 6th grade. Yeah, I went to Ernie Pyle in 6th grade, and then in middle school I went to this. It was so weird. It was at middle school and high school. It was called Bellflower Middle and High School. So yeah, we drive from there to Compton, from Compton there, and then and then I went to high school in El Segundo.
Okay.
And that was Vistamar. It's a private school. It's a new private school in LA.
Now your mom sounds like a really special person.
Yeah.
What does she do?
She's a teacher.
What does she teach?
She taught all grades, but her last few years were teaching kindergarten.
That is crazy that she would, and then she would do that drive for you, and then she would go teach?
She would drive to near USC. That's where her school was.
Yeah.
Menlo Elementary. Mm-hmm. Which is so crazy when you really think about it. Driving Bellflower's near Long Beach.
Yeah.
So that's driving every day to Long Beach to USC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so ridiculous. We'd have to leave very early.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying, we're talking about your brothers. You're saying they were more into the street life, is what you said.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What does that mean?
Well, it means that, like, let me think. A lot of my memories with my brothers is, like, them not really being there. Like, them, like, I don't know, being in and out of juvie or in jail and stuff like that. And so then, or, like, hanging out with their friends and, like, stuff like that. And so, like, I never really had that chance to, like, get to know them. Even now, I don't really know them that well. But hopefully that changes. I'm trying to make that change because, like, now I'm like older and, like, more, and I can understand them more. Maybe they can understand me more. And so, yeah, I do remember them liking video games too. Like, I'm familiar with a lot of, like, those Pokemon video games.
Sure.
Yeah. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
And they're how much older than you?
They are, let me see. My older brother is 30, and then my other older brother is 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what kind of high school was that you were at?
I went to Vistamar. It was a very small, like, very, very small. Like, when I got there were under 100 students. And then when I left, there were around 200 students. And its focus was on, like, being at home in the world. So it was, like, very much about, like, global initiatives, like, human experience. Like, you know, all these, like, kind of, like, utopia. Like, you know.
It was a little hippy dippy.
Exactly. A little hippy dippy. Yeah. Very global focus. I liked it a lot. I loved it. Especially going from, like, a very big middle school, like a middle and high school, to, like, to a school where the average class size that I was in was 12. That was a big class for me. Like, the smallest class I ever had 2 people in it.
Sure.
And that was my theater class. Yeah. That was awkward when somebody wouldn't show up. It would be only one person in the t-shirt.
That sounds awkward.
How about you?
I also went to a hippie high school and loved it. I went to a Quaker boarding school called Westtown.
Where is that?
That was in the middle of Pennsylvania. It was in the woods. It definitely had a Harry Potter-ish type vibe to it, I would say, in terms of, like, I don't know, like, it was just one huge building where, like, there was, like, secret passageways on the 3rd floor, and then there was, like, a catacombs underneath the tennis court. It was cool like that. But it was also Quaker. Are you familiar with Quakerism at all? So they were really into, like, peace and equality and all that type of stuff. And Quakerism had a lot of sort of a relationship to like the 60s counterculture movement, I think. And so that sort of, like, was still, like, attached to that sort of scene. Like, the Beats were like a clique at my high school, like people who read Jack Kerouac and, like, dropped acid in the middle of the day on a Friday. But I didn't do that. I was a good boy. I never did any, because my dad promised me 20 grand if I made it to 21 without drinking or smoking.
Wow.
So I didn't end up taking it because his business practice, like, tanked during the recession, but I still did it, so yeah.
Wow.
What about you? What was your relationship to, like, drinking and all that stuff in high school? Did you, like, stay away from it?
Yeah, I definitely stayed away from it. Well, I didn't definitely stay away from it. I remember my first time being drunk was my junior year. Yeah, my junior year Halloween. Halloween. I was dressed as a cougar, and I was drunk off some Bud Light.
Oh my goodness.
Watch out.
And so. And
then I smoked pot in high school when I was like. I started smoking pot, like, the first time I smoked pot was when I was 14.
Okay.
And then I didn't do it again until I was, like, 17. And then I and then in college, I smoked so much pot. Like I smoked like a spliff as soon as I got out of class. I was like, I think it was also because it was like, I think that I was like kind of like self-meditating from anxiety a lot because it was like directly after class, like smoke a spliff.
Yeah.
I would never go to class high. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But like as soon as I was out, it's like,
you needed a little something to just chill out with.
Yeah. And then I'd go to the library and like do whatever I needed to do, and then like go home and like smoke some more. Yeah, and a lot of drinking in college.
Oh yeah,
very much there for that.
And where did you go to school?
Lewis and Clark
Oh
College.
yeah, where is that?
In Portland.
In Portland. Oh yeah, so you went somewhere for college.
Yeah.
And what was your take on what's the vibe like in Portland, really?
Well, I think that okay, so I'm one of the first people in my family to go to college.
Yeah.
I'm not the first, but I'm like one of the first.
Sure.
And so I just didn't know what to expect, and I think that if I would have had that like more people like to kind of like help me with that process, I would have done better. Like I didn't do bad, but I mean like I would have like maybe chosen a school that was like a better fit for me. Like I loved my time at Lewis and Clark, except like that being in college and then like coming from where I came from, and like I just felt so alone at that school because it was just like so like everyone else was just like like I feel like it was like this thing where like it was so hard for me to like find my like place.
Yeah.
You know, like being from like not only being from Los Angeles, but being from like Compton and being from like and being from these places that like I don't know. It was just like it was my first time like being really like
because it's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean that was like the 90s.
Yeah, I remember my first week there. Like my first week, somebody asked me if I'd been shot, and like all these
right,
being exposed to that like this like this chasm of like ignorance and things like that.
Right, and then also
like,
people have all these misconceptions about what because Compton is like this thing that carries a name because of like gangster rap and all this different stuff, but like really it's not quite that thing, right?
Yeah, it's not
like,
quite that thing, but it's just like I don't know if people know how to like I think that like classism is a very like unspoken form of like way of silencing a person, and I feel like when I tell people about like my experiences of growing up in Compton and stuff, like if it didn't relate to this like way that they already conceptualized like people from Compton like through rap and stuff, and they just like instantly like kind of like just don't know what to do with you. They don't know what box to put you in. They don't know what to, like
oh my god,
you know. And so it's just kind of like I don't know, like very frustrating. Like, you know, like I either had to like hide it or like just kind of like play up the whole like, yeah, you know, I've seen a dead body. You know, it's like it's like you either play into their fantasy of what they want you to be, or you like kind of subvert that, and it's like
and then you feel like
you're
stranded.
Hiding. Yeah.
You feel like you're hiding if you try to subvert it. Mm-hmm. Hiding your
it's like hiding like I don't know. I guess like that's not even like hiding my I don't know. It's strange because like even like because I also like feel strange because I also didn't really go to school there since like
right you didn't go like high school is such a formative time, and so that like I feel like I didn't like I grew up in New Jersey, but I feel like I sort of grew up in Pennsylvania or this weird bubble, you know.
Yeah, and it's like, then I'm like, what about? And then it's like my brothers who actually didn't have that opportunity to go to this like hippy dippy high school,
right?
And so like they didn't like, and so then it's like, okay, well, gosh, it's just like.
And Portland's pretty white,
yeah,
right?
It is. It's the whitest city in America.
It is.
Yeah, and it's like this thing where I was like, what was I actually have no idea what I was thinking. I literally feel like I was like blind to like issues like that. Like I didn't think that I'd be treated differently, which is strange. I think that's kind of this like thing about coming from these hippy dippy high schools.
Because it's very international.
It's very like you feel like, oh, everything's fine. Like, you know, you're kind of like in this dream state. But when I got to Portland, I was like, shit's bad out here. Like someone like literally just asked me like, I don't know, just like shit's like really.
Yeah, something. I mean, I literally only know Portland from Portlandia, so that's my frame of reference. But it seems pretty like not.
Yeah.
Seems like liberal but not diverse, you know what I mean?
It's very like it's a place to get to like kind of be. It's a great place to get stuck in your ways, you know. It's a great place to just kind of like.
And you did the whole 4 years there.
Did the whole 4 years, and grew a lot, learned so much. Love Lewis and Clark. hate the name Lewis and Clark, but love the school.
Why do you hate the name?
Everyone hates the name Lewis and Clark.
Because it's Lewis and Clark. They like discovered California or something, right?
Yeah. They discovered. They did the Louisiana Purchase. When the Louisiana Purchase happened, they needed explorers to go through the new land and to make a map and to like tell you what's there and like, you know, just like lay out the land. And so they sent these two dudes, Lewis and Clark, out in there, and these two dudes, and they brought their slave York and Sacagawea.
Okay, Sacagawea.
We have a York.
Can't forget her.
This is like some shit. Like we have a York statue on our campus, and on York's back is a map of like the trail they took.
Okay.
In lashes, it's a map like. With like,
and that's a statue on the campus of Lewis and Clark of a slave
with lash marks of a map.
Oh my
like this
God.
is the kind of shit. I'm just like walking to class, just like
who made that? What did they think that was supposed to represent?
Who knows? To this, I'm just like, you know, like shit like that. It's just like every day. It's just like, damn, like, am I really supposed to look at this and like not just like want to cry? Like I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And so yeah.
That's really brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like very similar in a way being my Quaker boarding school because it was so like this sort of like I didn't have to confront racism in the way that I feel like I have to confront it now in LA as a grown person. Do you know what I mean? It's really, and I think also we're in like a huge moment for racial sort of identity and visibility, and just because everyone is able to have a camera now, so we get to see all these horrible things that happen. I think I've had, I mean, you can probably speak way more to this than me, so.
Yeah, okay, so where I grew up, I grew up on this place called Willowbrook.
Yeah.
And so it's Willowbrook and 120th Street. So it's like at this really strange like intersection of Compton, Watts, and LA. So it's like this like one space where it's like kind of like all these things coming together. And so the Watts riots, like that happened. And so like that, I think that was like one of the first times that we had like, was not the first time that like people have been recording brutalities against black people, but the first time that it was like ever in like national dialogue.
The Watts riots? That is that Rodney King or that is Rodney King?
Yeah. And so like when that, I think that was such a huge moment for like American like this video that like everyone finally like saw of like police brutality. Yeah. And so I think that I'm very interested in this like way that it's like we get to see all these things happening, but I'm wondering like I don't know. I just think
it's still what we're seeing is only the things that we're seeing. Do you know what I mean? Like these are the things that have been caught on video, and there's still so much opportunity for rage, you know, just through that. So what are we not seeing, you know?
Yeah, what are we not seeing?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I don't know, like, do you feel, because I feel like for me, not having like this much, I think not having this much exposure to this type of police brutality that's been going on before now, I didn't really realize how bad it was, the sort of racial disproportionate stuff. But do you think that, obviously you can't speak for the whole black community, but do you think the black community has always kind of recognized that or known it, or do you think it's become sort of intensified right now because of that visibility? I
think that class has a lot to do with like if about that visibility. Like for me, like as like a poor, like not like I identify with the poor identity. Like some people don't like to be called poor. I don't mind, but like as someone who like grew up poor, that's very visible. I've seen that shit in my life. I've had police bust into my house. Like that kind of shit is so normal for me. Yeah. But for someone who maybe is
not normal for me.
Exactly. For someone who like, for another black person whose family has not had the same history as mine, whose family has more wealth maybe. Sure. That shit would not be normal. Okay. I feel like it still has a lot to do with like who's being policed heavily. It's a poor black and brown body.
That intersection.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And so so you're growing up. You're seeing this type of stuff all the time. Did you so to go to college? You had to take out like $1 million loans, or how did that work?
I got a scholarship and like financial aid and just loans. I do have some loans on my back.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because like I don't know. Also, like I feel like I'm not a good I feel like I'm not one of those good success stories of like a black girl gets out of the hood like so smart, gets like a 4.0. I wasn't that. I was never that. So, like,
You're never the perfect student.
Exactly. I was like always kind of happy with the B, and like I wasn't an overachiever. I'm still not an overachiever.
Yeah.
And so like so I didn't really get that many scholarships, or like like Oprah didn't pay for my college fund or anything like that.
Yeah.
So loans and financial aid.
Yeah.
Because it was very much need based.
And what was your major when you were in school?
Rhetoric and media, and slight minor in religious studies. I don't know. See, I don't even know if I have that minor because I didn't take one class.
Wait, say what was what was the first major?
Rhetoric.
Okay,
Yeah.
define that? What does that mean? Rhetoric.
It's a philosophy behind communications.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like, what do you tell me more about that?
Okay, well, I love rhetoric. I think it's very fun. It's like, for me, like I think that what makes rhetoric so good, great is that if you ask, you get a different definition if you
depending
you
on
ask.
who you talk to.
Like for me, rhetoric is about how we understand meaning, the way that things become normal, the way that things become the way that we accept things, and the way that we accept society, and like the wording and the history and like the narratives that kind of like underlay normal. And so rhetoric for me is about uncovering that, and like what are the implicit ideologies that like we have to accept to view this like thing as this thing,
Yeah.
Like, so I guess it relates to like semiotics, and it relates to conversation, it relates to archiving.
Yeah. And maybe would you say your experience growing up, sort of being a part of maybe a hidden history in a way, opened you up to thinking about how like basically everything is like bullshit?
Yeah, everything is bullshit. But I think that for me, the way that I grew up just kind of helped. Like I think that, it's definitely all bullshit. But when do things become real? Like, or like how do we conceptualize bullshit? Like, what does that word even mean? Like,
I mean, I feel like a lot of like for me the like realization that like society or whatever was like a completely arbitrary like sort of joke in a way was sort of like when I really realized I was gay. You know what I mean? Like why would there be these structures in place like to limit this thing that has like nothing, like that's not bothering anybody? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I sort of wonder. It sort of makes me sad because I think about today's generation of gay kids coming out of the closet, and like maybe they don't have to do that now because being gay is just this like huge accepted thing, or like people want to figure out ways to accept being gay. Maybe they kind of miss the mark, straight people sometimes do, but like there is that like so much visibility, and I also think like it's just changed so much in my lifetime, but I think it's harder to discriminate systemically against gays because like two straight parents can have a gay kid, right? Two white parents aren't gonna have a black kid. Do you know what I mean? So like it's harder to have that like systemic infrastructure, and that's why I think we've we've been able to get as far as we have in the last couple of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't. I think that there are a lot of like structural ways that are like limiting to queer people.
There sure are. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
But oh shit, I died.
Oh no.
It's okay. Fuck, did I save? Oh no.
Who is that?
Okay, so let's get into this plot here on this game since we've been talking so much. So basically, the premise of this game is that the government is trying to reverse engineer magical creatures to make weapons, and we are part of like a resistance movement that's like trying to stop that. So this guy is like a member of the resistance, and she's just defected from the Empire, and we're trying to escape this like dungeon basically. Wow. But I just set myself back so far and so stupidly didn't save in that last point. Oh well, it's fine. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
But this game I've played it so much, but I don't think I've ever beaten it. And so I was trying to think of a constructive way to beat it, and I thought maybe turn it into a podcast.
Yeah.
So
this is a live podcast?
Oh no. It just goes on YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's not even a podcast. It's a let's play video, I guess you would say.
Okay, let's play.
But I really love this game. I made like an 8-foot painting when I was in high school of like all my friends as like different characters in this game.
Oh, cool.
So I was like really into it. Where is the map here? Sorry, we got into some like really heavy topics there, I feel.
Yeah.
But important to talk about, I would say. So when did you start thinking about maybe getting more into art from that major?
When did that happen? It happened when I was mentoring high school students in North Portland. Because for me, like I am very passionate about helping other Black girls like myself who I literally felt so alone growing up. I was just like, are there other people like me at all anywhere? I can remember like when I first got the internet, one of the first things I started doing was like going on chat rooms, like searching, like always searching to like for like a community or like my tribe or something.
Sure.
And so like, oh my God, like to every like way that I felt different, I would go to like a blog or something for like tallgirls.org, like Black Planet, like all these like weird things that just like every way that I just felt so like on the fringe. I just like wanted to like build find as many people out there in the world. And so when I was 15, when I started really getting into art, I did theater in high school, some, and I've always loved talking and conversations. Like I love conversations.
And that can almost be like with performance and everything that's going on now, like that could be a sort of mode of artistic expression, a conversation. I mean, this is a conversation we're having right now, and this is sort of like where my art practice is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's totally the field is very open right now.
Exactly. And like so I'm also very fascinated by like how social media, like what is that a performance? Is it like are we creating virtual avatars? Like what are we doing when we're like sharing so much of ourselves online? And so I got really into thinking about that. And so in college I took this course called Social Justice in Action.
Okay.
Which was kind of a few things about Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark I am not the student Lewis and Clark was made for. And that was one of those classes that kind of made that more prevalent. Yeah. But the class was about social justice, yet it was still so like white focused, you know, like where it's like so like they started so much from the bottom, like, okay, so we're gonna define what all these terms, like half the class was just spent okay, duh. I don't know, for me I was just like
what terms, like racism or something like that?
Exactly. Or just like, did you know that like did you know that like within certain communities, like it's better to be lighter than darker? Like these things like that. I was just like,
so apparent to you.
I'm just like, okay. And so then but the one thing that made this class worth it was that every other class we go to a high school in North Portland and mentor high school students. Okay. And so one day, I don't know, I was just like, so do y'all know any artists? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, like name some artists that you really like or admire.
Sure.
And they were like, Rihanna. And I was like, yeah, I like Rihanna too, but like how about like, I don't know, artists who are like not singers or like, you know, just like maybe people who are like making paintings and stuff. And they were like Picasso. And I was
This is with the kids?
The kids were like Picasso. Frida. And I was like, okay, yeah, they're great people too, but I mean, like, how about now? Like, do you know any artists who are like, I don't know, making work about like identity or anything? And they're like, no. And so then I was like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I feel like there is this thing with like class and like art. Like I feel like people, like they don't really see themselves related in the art world or like in this thing called the art. I don't even consider myself a part of the art world, but something like like they don't see themselves in this thing that's like sometimes I make art for them, but I don't know.
I know what you mean.
So then I decided, okay, I'm gonna become an artist, and so then that's what happened. And so I started to I started my arts publication and then I got really into art writing, and I focused a lot of time on that. And then I wrote my for that class, I wrote my final paper about art, and I started making video stuff, and it was great. See, this is one of the fantastic things about Lewis and Clark. I had so many resources around me. Like, we had media labs, and like our libraries were just full of stuff that I could read and like research and think with, and like so that was like that class was like my junior or sophomore year, and then after that I just like kind of just knew what I wanted to do and just push forward.
Now, you said you have a publication?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's called Fit, Form, Function.
Okay.
It's about understanding how artists conceptualize their practices and performance. It's focused on performance art and the fit, form, and function of art in your life.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's mostly writing by you, or do you get different contributors? Or
when I had funding from Lewis and Clark, I got it printed while I was abroad in Vietnam.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the school paid me to fucking print it, which was so swank. And so I printed books and I gave them out. I gave out copies in Vietnam and in Portland and in LA. And then after that, I did it. I just printed it in the school library, and then it was like a zine. But it started off as a zine, and then it became a book when I got the funding, and then it became a zine again.
Okay.
And now it's a zine again, but now I only pass it out to young brown black kids where I am, and I'm trying to find some people who'd want to take it over because I don't have time for it anymore. I just started a full-time job. So I'm looking for someone to take it over. Like looking for, I don't know. I've always I made it for where I made it for just to only put like my writing and like what I was thinking about at that time, but yeah,
And what was the response? You say you handed it out in Vietnam. What was the response over there like?
It was, let me think. The response was good because for that issue, it was about what I was worried about was the fact that if I could print it, like I had to actually bribe the printer to print it because I didn't have and the laws surrounding art and surrounding like mass publications of things in Vietnam is so like strict.
Really?
And so I had to bribe the printer to
I did not know it was like that over there.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Like
communism's weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know enough about the government in Vietnam.
It's a post-communist nation. So it's like they're trying out this thing called like where it's like a little mix of socialism, capitalism.
It's a little mix.
Yeah, a little mix of socialism, capitalism, and communism. Yeah.
What? In order to like legally get new media printed over there, what would you have had to do?
I would have had to ask the government.
Yeah. And they would have to like look over it and say, what? This is
okay. This is not okay. Like, I think it's also good that I'm a foreigner.
Yeah. And
so that made it kind of okay to just like bribe someone. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would have to go through a lot of channels if I was like a Vietnamese born person trying to print things like that.
I see. Now what would have been not okay, do you think?
It would have been not okay to talk about anything bad about the state, or if I was just going to be like, this place sucks, but of course it was just about art and about, that one was about object poetics, and so I invited poets. Actually, one of the poets, if I would have asked the government would have definitely said no.
Yeah.
Because one of the poets that I printed in Fit from Function is not allowed to print in Vietnam anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Because of what she was writing. And she was writing about nudity, and she was writing about the nude form as poetry, and the government shut that down.
She was Vietnamese.
And they took away her teaching license. They said if she can't be printed.
She's
on a certain list.
Oh my gosh.
But I know, which is another great thing that I'm a foreigner. They just kind of like the printers were just like, oh, she's whatever, it's fine, and they printed it. But so I'm not allowed to say who printed it because they can get in trouble. But like, it's just, yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was, something.
And you were on exchange for school then. What was that like, just like in general, being in Vietnam as American?
Yeah, that is what, being in Vietnam is what inspired me to start doing performance art and start thinking about like performance art more seriously, because that was also a time when I just felt so big, I just felt so tall and like kind of like looming and like dark. I felt very aware of my darkness. Like, that felt very, very visceral to me because like a lot of the culture there is based on like this idealization of like light skin. And like skin like all the most of the lotions I found had skin lightening, like
skin lightening.
Yes, like just regular lotion, just like lighten your skin. And so like Vietnam was fantastic because I love Vietnamese language. The country itself is beautiful. I love the heat. I like that. I like the feelings. I like the feeling of like heat and humidity. The food is fantastic. The people are very sweet. There are just like some moments. My group, I think that it was also strange. Like, I don't know. It was very strange to be a part of like a study abroad program like that, where there were like maybe 15. There were 15 other people in my group with me, but I was the only black person, and so like I needed like this other space. So that's why I got an internship while I was there, and like I had my own life outside of my program, and so I got an internship at a gallery out there, and that was where I loved that. Like that was a very huge moment for me to like be able to like learn about art and like learn about art history, because like I didn't study art and I didn't study art history, but like being able to like learn about that in a gallery setting that isn't in America is very interesting. And that is like very much like in this like post-communist nation, and like learning about like the histories of that and how that related to art has definitely affected my practice, and it's been such a strong influencer into like my
because it wasn't as Eurocentric.
Definitely, like I have not ever taken into like European art history class or like a European like focused like art making class. And so a lot of learning through doing. The gallerist was one. She's a powerhouse. Gallery Quinn fam is my fam. And that gallery, it was run by Vietnamese people. She was a Viet Cu, which means that her family is Vietnamese. She grew up in Vietnam, but during the war she left and moved to America.
I see, and then came back afterwards.
Yes, and then came back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's and what kind of work were they showing over there?
Contemporary work. So let's see. They're one of the only galleries to be showing conceptual work along with paint, like kind of like traditional paintings and like a lot of. I was there at a great time. Some conceptual work. I met some performance artists. And
is there a really diverse art scene in Vietnam, like for and space for performance? Like, is there places that are doing just that and not a combination of traditional art and performance?
It's interesting because like when I was in Ho Chi Minh City, so definitely depends on. It's a very complicated history because for a while performance art. Okay, so this is funny. This is actually what I wrote my paper about. Let me breathe. So performance art didn't really start happening in Vietnam, like with that word performance art attached to it,
of course,
until 1988, and that was like one of the first times that people started to like put like a little bit of performance art onto what they're doing, because for a while, like people coming into a room and like performing and stuff was like the only way that you could really make art under such a strict hand of the government, where it's like having access to supplies. It's like, like it's like performance art from necessity.
Right, okay.
It's such a thing. And that's like, and so, I think that, I was talking to one artist, who, Lin Phong Lin, who I interviewed for an issue of Fit Form Function, whose father is a person who ran Narshe, which is one of the first spaces for performance art and for performance artists to show their work to an audience in Vietnam. And I was in Hanoi. And so for her, when she like continued the collective now, they were having a ton of legal issues because like with like the government would come and like shut it down, or like they had like their own big huge like building for a while, but then when the government didn't like one of the performances they did, they shut it down. They shut the whole space down.
Oh my gosh.
And so like when that's like always a threat, I feel like it's like a lot harder than like resources, and like it's just like really, really hard to sustain an art practice like that.
Yeah.
And so it's all, I don't think it's like, sustainability in the art world is not.
Now here's a question I have. Do you feel like sort of this limited supplies? We've got limited supplies. We've got limited we've got the government coming in on all sides. Yeah. Do you think that can sort of help sort of enrich an art practice in a way, or is that just sort of like a fantasy, like a myth that sort of goes in hand with like the starving artist sort of fantasy? You
see, I have a lot of questions. I think a lot about fantasy and art fantasy and like what are we building toward as artists. Like for me, I think that resources. I think it's all about how you use your bamboo camera.
Right.
Which means how do you use what you have in front of you? I feel like that's really the testament to like what I look for in art, because I think that allows for a space of like ingenuity. Like art is more about like training not training, but like working that muscle that like knows what to do with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like where it's not like you won't just like, I'm like, you don't feel like you're only an artist when you're in front of a canvas with a brush. And so I think that like once an artist like knows that and like can kind of like relate that like not power, but like relate that magic that they bring to the paint brush, like when you can relate that to like so many different things.
Yeah.
I think that's true talent for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with like I think that like limitations and stuff like that can actually sometimes afford you a lot creatively. Like, for example, this game is like 20 years old, and the graphics on it are really bad by today's standards. But I also think that like for those same reasons, I mean, they were sort of like, and I think the budget for this game was not small for the time, but the limited graphics of the Super Nintendo, I mean, they're basically trying to push an elephant through like a keyhole and trying to tell like an epic story with like this very limited palette. But I think because it is so minimal, it leaves space for the imagination. I think that when they started getting the graphics better, it got a little too over the top. And so I think like that limitation really, like that limitations of early video games really like created a sort of more unique and generative artistic space. So I do sort of believe in that, like in that sort of idea of like limitations on artwork. Also from my own art practice, in which basically evolved out of me like being completely incapable of like I used to freak out just drawing like a line, like trying to draw like a nose on a person, like I would like miss. Do you know what I mean? I was so bad at drawing. And so like that sort of like struggle to even like produce this like simple thing was, I think, what people were maybe like, I had to learn to become okay with that eventually, and then it sort of made the work interesting. I don't know, that's just my sort of take on it. But like, do you think money, like in terms of actual art, do you think money sort of can ruin art making? Like
that's a good question.
There's so many bands or musicians you can sort of think of who, once they made it big and they got money, they just started churning out like really bad albums. And like, where does that come from, do you think? Like, what do you think that's about? I don't know.
That's interesting.
Like, I think it might be like that there's a generativeness to conflict in life, but at the same time, conflict is like over maybe like over romanticized.
I think conflict is definitely over romanticized, Let me think. I think that like, I don't know. I have a very strange relationship to money because I think that having. Let me think about Kanye West.
Okay.
Yeah, like especially for rappers who like. I think especially if someone's practice is like based in like the struggle and like expressing the struggle, and then when that struggle is not there because they like made it to like another place.
Sure.
Like,
do you still like his music that he puts out now? There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, there is no wrong answer. Do I like? I do. I mean, it's catchy. He has a great team. It's all about the team.
That's what I always think. Like he always feels like a sort of
Exactly. When you have that money, you have more like resources.
He feels like a centerpiece for all these different creative people to sort of get involved. Like Vanessa Beecroft when he made that movie for the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That was like very impressive. But that's like a whole world of people that are producing that, right? And that's true for like almost any pop stars. I mean, this is like a criticism that also comes up a lot for like Bruce Springsteen, who's someone who's considered like a musician for like for the working folk, right? And so how can he make legitimate work from that space as a as like a rich dude, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's true. It's true. Like, I think that it's strange because we definitely need it to like survive.
Money?
Yeah.
We need it like we need air to breathe.
Yeah.
Because you could go live in the woods if you wanted to, but if you want to stay with your friends, if you want to stay with your family, you need money. You need money. And it has such a crazy effect on your psychology too.
Yeah. And I'm finding that I also need art to breathe. Like I need to create to
That's
like, not
true though.
Feel lonely and to not feel like that same sad 10-year-old who was just like so lonely. Like I need to create. And so
that's a good reverse of that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, those sort of frustrating needs like money are there, but then there's like the other needs that like are sort of like maybe speak more to our like how rich the human experience can maybe be. I don't know.
Yep. Yes. The human experience is very rich. Yeah. Like like one thing that I'm struggling with right now is like I'm out of college and like right now I'm working at this advertising agency.
Oh, really?
Yeah, out in El Segundo.
Okay.
And like I like the job and I like what we're doing and it's like fun, but at the same time I'm like working for this machine that's like the exact opposite of what like fit from function is about, or like of what like I envision my art writing to be like. I don't know. It's just like, but I need money and I want to be successful and I want to like I have all these hood dreams that I want to have manifested and like I want to like have my own media empire and I want to do all these things, but like you also can't do any of that without like.
And a job in advertising it kind of is going in that direction, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about like so you earlier you mentioned like you were that story of like getting out of the hood, but and landing a little more stably on your feet. Now we've got so much like crazy gentrification going on. You know, you want to see neighborhoods improve, right? But you also how it seems like hard to see it, but is there a way for neighborhoods to sort of become safer spaces for people without sort of pushing out the lower class or the homeless or figuring out what to do in those situations? Like, what's your take on all that?
I think that my take on that, okay, so for me, I think that what's happening now is that like, okay, I think that it needs to be more from the inside out rather than from the outside in. Like, I think that there has to be a huge like cultural shift when we think about like for me, what I'm learning is like I am still trying to like decolonize my own mind when I return back to the hood, because now I'm in the hood again, you know? Like I left the hood and then went to this like this like idyllic like beautiful school on a
Right.
hill in Portland,
Right, okay.
And now I'm back in the hood. You know,
Okay.
like I'm back in South Central, like living with my parents, and I feel like, and I sometimes get so like down about myself, like, you know, it's just like, man, there's nothing around here, there's no galleries near me, there's
Yeah.
nowhere to eat, there's like nowhere to find any kind of like organic food or
Oh,
like
yeah.
good, like there's none of that. Like I'm okay, people think I'm joking when I say that, but like in my neighborhood, like within like the closest grocery store is Food for Less, and like their
Right.
produce is not that great.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah, and it's just like things like that. I think that, and then I'm like, why is that? Because like it's been economically looted. Like these neighborhoods are literally being looted. Like,
Yeah.
God. And then it's like, I think that what I want to see happen more is that, like, people like me who like kind of leave and have this like return. Like, this is why I appreciated my time in Vietnam so much. Because Quinn Pham, like I feel like I'm also one of these people that kind of like this like return, you know, like this return back to your place after a migration. And so like for me, I'm trying to like rebuild back in my community. Like one of my dreams is to like open up a gallery where I am, or like, but like make sure that like it just becomes also a space for people to come and talk and like have community like meetings and things like that. I think that there needs to be more of an emphasis on the fact that like it's a community of people, you know, like we're a community of people, and we need to like work to like nourish our like, I don't know, like nourish like the opportunities that we have for other people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like I spend so much time leaving South Central, but I want to spend more time actually being there and
Okay.
like actually engaging with my neighbors and like actually like, I don't know, like not feeling like I have to be afraid anymore. Like I feel like there's so much fear, and I just need to like, I don't know, I hope that like there's like this change in that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm like making sense. It's
No,
hard
it
to,
makes
like,
sense. I mean,
speak
you
on my
want to
feet.
basically just be putting back into your community as a member of the community,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
Yeah.
that's something...
But I don't even quite know how to do that yet.
Right.
But-
It seems really complicated. I mean...
Yeah. Like Fit from Function, like I give out like the ones I make now. I give out to kids I see on the like I'm on the bus a lot. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want this zine? It's free.
Okay.
Do you want this zine? And I'll give it to some kids on the bus.
And what's the
like,
reaction? What's the reaction to kids? From the kids? Do they know what a
Well,
zine is? What do they think they're getting?
Exactly. A lot of people don't know what a zine is. They're like, what is this? And then it's a great opportunity to talk, and then they ask me questions.
Okay.
And then like I think, and then blah blah blah, and like it's great. And then like sometimes they just like kind of throw it away or something. I'm like, it's fine too. But yeah, I think that like even if what was I saying? Yeah, I just kind of pass it around. Definitely.
Yeah.
And a lot of mixed reviews.
Okay.
Usually get them. People are usually interested.
Sure.
And then they'll like give me their Instagram handle, and I'll follow them on Instagram.
Cute. Now, here's my question. Do you think the media cycle keeps people even in those communities sort of blind to their like own situations, or how their situation is sort of like why they are in that situation?
Well, let me think. For me, like growing up, I spent so much time watching TV. Like because like it's all we really could do. That's all I really could do. And so then but in relation to that, I spent so much time hating myself, like so much time because of the messages I was receiving from the media, where it's like, you have to be white, you have to be blonde, you have to have all these things, you have to be wealthy, you have to be middle class, you have to be these things. And so it's like it's the poison. The babysitter is like feeding you poison in a lot of ways. And I feel like when you're like in the hood, it's like this very, very dangerous catch-22, where it's like I don't know, it's like, gosh, I just want people to create more.
Yeah, create more
yeah.
and more for their, because like I read a really interesting thing recently that actually Black and Latino people go to the movies more than white people.
Yes, yeah.
So
we consume the most media.
And so it's crazy that we're in the situations that we see ourselves in, like right now with the Oscars, maybe.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to be talking about those sort of like larger cultural dynamics around media versus like other things? You know, like, 'cause like should we just be saying like fuck the Oscars? Who even cares about that? Like, why are we even having this conversation? Or do you think it's still a really relevant conversation to be having? You know?
I think it's relevant, but the Oscars is not the only thing. I think it's relevant, but we also have to take this conversation and relate it to a lot of other institutions that do not respect us.
Yeah.
Like, we have to relate that to so many other things. Like, it's not just the Oscars. Like, I think the Oscars is a great, like, starting point, but also, like, we should have more award shows for a lot of different people. And, like, it shouldn't just be the Oscars,
okay.
You know? Like, yeah. Because, what do you think about the Oscar? Like,
well, I always sort of, you want to say you don't care about that stuff, you know, but then like you hear like Academy Award winning actress or Academy Award winning thing, and then like you hear it, and like even if you want to say it doesn't really matter to you, it kind of still
it does matter.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like there's this like it's like when people say like, oh, I'm not affected by advertising, but you're still so affected by it, you know?
It's like a $1 billion industry.
And also like the Oscars, like 90, like the average age for Oscar voters is like in their 60s, right? So it's like this very old group of people, you know, that and like the way the system works is like you stop voting for it when you die, right?
My God, yeah.
So like these people who are voting for the Oscars are from such a different generation of filmmaking even than like our generation, but they're also having a huge impact and influence on this generation of filmmaking.
So do you think that the Oscars should be like American Idol style where people vote?
Well, no, because then it would just only be people from the South who would win. Not that that's the worst thing in the world, but you know, I sort of just feel like it's like kind of like I don't think that. I think it's an important conversation to have because we are having it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's important to people and it impacts that, then I guess we do sort of have to talk about it. Like, if we were talking about it, we have to talk about it because just the things people say have, especially celebrities, have such an impact on the way we sort of negotiate and deal with these sort of social issues, right? I mean, and like, there's like other things like going on, like with the Academy too. Like, when we were kids, like the big thing to get an award for was, like playing a character who had was like Forrest Gump or Sling Blade or something like this, like someone who has like some kind of mental condition, right? That was like the way to get an award. It's like you play this this type of role, and then at a certain point, that got replaced by like straight actors playing gay roles, right? And now it's straight actors or cis actors playing trans roles, you know, like Eddie Redmayne and the Danish Girl or something like that. And I don't even want to like discredit a lot of those performances. Like, I think like Brokeback Mountain was like a really great movie because it was like sort of it wasn't really showcasing gay culture at all. It was because these two guys were in such a circumstance of being in an environment where there was no outlets, and so it was like you could call it a gay cowboy movie, but no one in that movie ever says like I'm gay. Do you know what I mean?
I haven't seen Brokeback Mountain.
I really like that movie, but at the same time, you know, like we never celebrate when a gay actor plays a straight character, which I think also sometimes casting is hesitant to do. After you know, you look at people who are gay on TV, like Ellen or what's the guy's name who's on that show? Neil Patrick Harris. Or The Big Bang Theory. All those actors, like Sandra Oh, all those actors were not out when they got those roles. You know, they came out later, right? So like, it's not exactly the same as being an out gay actor, being able to be open about yourself and still play that straight role. But at the same time, I sort of feel like, you know, you can't expect that to be hard for anyone because like that's a role as a gay person that you probably had to play for a lot of your life, you know, especially like from past generations. So I don't know. I mean, I always am just kind of like a very like sort of fuck the award show type person, but I am also a person who looks at like criticism. Like, I'm totally like one of those guys who's like, what's the Rotten Tomatoes for this movie? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though there are movies that like don't fit that category, I definitely still look at it. So it obviously impacts me somewhat. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be more diversity in the Academy for sure, but also I think that representation is just so important.
It is
literally so important, especially in a culture like ours. Like it's everything. It's everything, and I feel like if we don't have more people making those decisions, like in casting, who kind of also care about our politics, care about like seeing like seeing some sort of like a change, like so like who wants to see that change, then it's just all gonna stay the same.
Right.
And so I don't know. I think that a lot of that also has to come with like there's so many jobs in that field in the movies and in Oscars. Like I'm sure that a lot of people who watch the Oscars have no idea about how those awards are given out.
Yeah.
Like, how do you become a part of that academy? How are you invited to that? Like, what? Like
inner circle. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And also, I think we're just starting to. I think people are just starting to understand in the film industry that like diversity sort of needs to happen at least as much sort of behind the camera as it does in front of the camera, because you can have like there's been so many movies about these issues, not all of them bad, but they're directed by a white director, a straight director, a male director almost all the time. Like I think it's really like telling that we're also not talking about in this conversation, there hasn't been a female director nominated for Best Director in 6 years, something like that. So that's crazy, right? Like, because women are more than like most people are women. Like women live longer than men. Most people living in the world are women. So when you are viewing women as a minority, or like as a minority, that's like crazy, because they're really only a minority in your like head or like your conception of them. So it just like speaks to how far we sort of haven't come on that set of issues. I don't know.
It's true. Yeah, and then like, you only know you can be it when you see it.
Right,
know?
That's true.
Yeah.
You have to see those.
Exactly. I didn't even know I could be considered beautiful until I saw people like Grace Jones.
Sure.
Or like it's just like I remember that moment actually. I was like maybe like 11 or 12 when I like saw her. I was like, whoa, and I was just like, wait, people are like into that. Like I was just like, like you don't know you can be it until you can see it.
Because even a lot of like the black women on TV and movies, they sort of have this very...
you kind of have to be a white girl dipped in chocolate to make it.
Yeah, like Lupita Nyong'o is kind of the first really dark-skinned sort of woman that I've seen in the mainstream, I guess, sort of celebrated as a beauty.
And it's still so contested. Like people are like, I don't see why she beat out Jennifer Lawrence. But no one would say, I don't see why Jennifer Lawrence beat out Lupita.
No one would say that.
No one would say that.
No one would say that.
It looked at weird.
I mean, it's even like those double standards are so crazy. Like even with this podcast, so we've done 5 episodes now, maybe. Okay, I've had 3 girls on and 2 guys. Okay, and when I had just had 2 girls on, someone asked me, they were like, so this is like a women-centric piece. I was like, what? Because I had 2 women on? Because it was equal. Because it was equal, it becomes woman-centric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy that people just take it there so fast.
It's like because like to this point, it's like still like the white, cis, straight male is invisible. Just human. You know? It's like, and those identities are invisible until the other is like there.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And because there is so much pressure, I think like
Yeah.
Like when Lex Luthor or Superman are characters, no, like a white character could be Lex Luthor or they could be Superman, right? Like it's never it's never like, and it never sort of becomes about his like identity as a white guy, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a black character in a film, because there is this lack of diversity, everything is suddenly riding on them. You know what I mean?
And
like
and that's why that's one of the reasons I became what I am now, which is like new media artist who works a lot with like conceptual work and experimental work, where I'm not gonna like try really hard to blow someone's brains. I'm like, no, if I want to post like a really bad selfie, like I'm gonna do it and like call it, or if I want to just do something really simple, there it is, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we kind of like, that's another like, I think that is one of the ways that like we like fight up against that, like these like small ways to just like kind of like put it into people's minds that like, I don't know, we're normal and human. Like,
right.
Even like one day I realized like when I was on the bus one day and like this little girl like looked at me and she said, I've never seen somebody with hair like yours. And I'm like, and I'm like,
how's that even possible?
Because like there's not like natural hair is still like, I don't know, like it's just not normal. It's not
right.
Like I wear my hair how it grows out of my head.
Right.
It's like abnormal. It's like all these weird ways that like even like I'm still like trying to like decolonize my own brain and like just like it's okay to like feel, to like allow all of your humanness to like be allowed to breathe,
to just be you.
Yeah.
Do you now on the reverse side of that, if like how do you feel about just like hair is such a thing. It's such a huge thing right now. Like we have Miley Cyrus at the VMAs with dreadlocks, right? And that's like very looked down upon, and like I mean I can totally understand that. Or then we have like a situation where, here's something I would really love your take on. Like Bell Hooks and Laverne Cox are talking. Do you know this instance? And what happened? I can't remember exactly what happened.
It's called Laverne Cox, so that her aesthetic is white supremacist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
because of her blonde weave and wigs.
Right, because she did her hair like a white girl more would. Yeah. And what's your take? Like, what's your take on that exactly?
What is my take on that? I think that I think that be critical.
Yeah?
I think that everyone can, like, of course, like, I wore a blonde wig today.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's all about knowing that you can, like, I can wear a blonde wig and wear my hair in twists and, like, still, and not feel like I'm less beautiful or less attractive or less, like,
right.
I think it's all about, like, I don't know, I do kind of, okay, I think that I am in no place to police how somebody else wears their hair.
Okay.
I am in no place to ever say someone is like not a good like radical or not a good feminist or not a good womanist if they want to wear a blonde wig. But for me personally, I would not like spend my everyday wearing a blonde wig because I would feel, me personally, for my body, I would feel like I was like I was trying to be that, or I don't know. It would make me feel bad about myself because for a while I was like, I felt like I was ugly for not having blonde hair and blue eyes. So it would make me feel like I'm not living up to my true self. And plus, I'm still getting used to this hair. Like I want to see where it goes. Like I've only been wearing my hair like naturally for like 4 or 5 years.
So you used to do the whole thing.
I never permed it, but I go to the hair. This is torture to me now that I think about it. But I used to go to the hair salon every 2 weeks and get it straightened with a hot comb.
And that like, what's that? That like hurts?
Yeah, it hurts because it's a hot comb like going through your hair every 2 weeks. I get burns and scabs. Couldn't get it wet. Didn't learn how to swim until I was 20.
And that's why you didn't learn how to swim. Mm-hmm. Because you didn't
want to get my hair wet.
You didn't want to get your hair wet because then it would then become just the way it actually is.
It wouldn't go back to that because it got trained. So it'd just be stringy and just big until it was straightened again. And so...
And this is what a lot of women do. A lot of black women do this, like, all the time.
Yeah. My mom still goes every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I stopped when I went to college because I was also going to Portland where it was raining and I couldn't straighten my hair anymore.
Yeah. And Vietnam, probably
Vietnam was very difficult. But, also, Portland was just fucked me the fuck up. Because, I was still dealing with, all these, stupid-ass white boys who, treated me like shit because I didn't...
Dating.
Yeah, dating fucked me up. That was so bad for 10-year-old Jasmine. Who's healing. That's one of the reasons I wish I went to, Spelman or some shit like that.
Is that
it's all women's. It's all black. It's a historically black, all women's liberal arts school.
Wow, where is that?
Atlanta.
Oh, wow. I didn't I heard of it.
Again, I don't know what I was thinking when I was applying to schools. I was like, I'll be fine,
What drew you up there, though?
Rhetoric. I wanted to study rhetoric.
The department,
yeah, I knew I wanted to study rhetoric, and there was the only school that offered that over here. And I didn't want to move too far because I couldn't afford to, go from Atlanta to LA every... Christmas. Who can afford that?
Yeah.
I could barely afford going to Portland.
Right, exactly.
But I knew I didn't want to stay in California because I wanted to try something new.
You want to try something new,
So Portland. So Lewis and Clark made sense in those ways. But damn, was it difficult. Oh my god, it was just so crazy.
What would, if you were dating a guy, what were the things, that he would say that would, kind of get into that?
Well, no one wanted to date me because they're all afraid of me. I'm a very tall, dark-skinned black woman. They were just fucking scared. B, but they were not afraid to try to fuck me. They were not afraid to try to fuck me, but they were too afraid to respect me.
Yeah, and you weren't even, because you said you used to be really shy. Mm-hmm. So you were actually really shy then.
Yeah, I wasn't, it's just what are some things people would say? I once had this guy who, I put these boys on blast now. Yeah. There's one guy whose name is Francis.
Okay.
Who fucking threw up on me.
Threw up on you? Yes. Why was that?
Because he was drunk. He tried to hook up with me. I was like, okay. And then when we got to his house, he fucking threw up on me. Tried to make out with me.
After the throw up. Oh my god.
Throw up on me. And then take my pants off. I was like, no. And then the next day, just so disrespectful of me. And I sent him a Facebook message asking him for his number, and he replied back saying, "Oh, I can't do that." And then went on this long rant about how, I don't know, it was just there's all these these ways and oh god.
Did he apologize for what he did?
He did apologize after I chewed him out.
Okay.
For his stupidity. But I don't know. It's that's not all of them are like that, but oh gosh. But still, there was just...
And it's so hard because, would you say, there's obviously this racism about, complexion and natural hair, but, when it's not upfront, explicitly stated, you always are, unsure, you it's hard to gauge maybe when it's that and when it's not that, or just all that type of stuff.
It is hard to gauge, but at the same time, I also the thing that really makes that line clear is being just being realistic.
Yeah.
What happened after that, the fact that after what he did to me and how he started going out with one of my best friends after that. Treated her so nice. Actually seeing the way that he treated her versus how he treated me.
I see what you're saying.
It's a joke not to think that my race and had nothing to do with it. It's a joke to think that had nothing to do with it.
It was totally that makes it totally obvious because she was white.
Yeah. And it's
my gosh.
You really think that getting me drunk in the club is a way to get to know me?
Yeah.
Is that really instead of asking
because they
out
are
somewhere?
Because it's not that they aren't attracted to you as a dark-skinned woman. That people still have those interests, but then there's some kind of other
how can I get to know her? Oh no, I'll just get a fifth of whiskey and take her to the club. Oh, how do I want to get to know Beth over there? Oh, I'll take her out for dinner and
oh my gosh.
talk to her and try to get to know just shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just
so it's stereotyping too.
Stereotyping, yeah. And then geez, there's this God. Sorry, I'm just going down my own memory lane.
Drag it all out.
Yeah, it's
so,
just
but
like,
what about,
I'm still healing.
but now you figured out how to navigate that better today?
No, I'm still fucked up.
It's still
I have had one, like, relationship in my life.
One.
I know it's partially me, because I'm just not very, just, like, I just need to do a lot more healing.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, relationships and, like, not being, like, anxious about, like, dating after all that stuff. Like, like, not knowing if they just want to use me or for, like, that night or something. I don't know. I'm still, like...
Yeah, I mean, that's, like, definitely a dynamic of...
Yeah. I don't know what I want, really. I'm still figuring all that out.
You're still figuring it out, yeah.
Yeah, and, like... Yeah, and allowing myself that space to figure it out.
You gotta give yourself that space.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like I totally, like, didn't... I feel like I done, like, the total opposite where I just, like, you know, you just sort of, like, act out sexually with lots of people, and that can be fun, but sometimes you just need your me time. I don't know. It's confusing. It's hard. I mean, I'm in a relationship now, and even that is... I mean, we're, like, in the, like, really happy zone. But, it is interesting because my boyfriend's Guatemalan, you know? And so, like... like, one time he was, like... Because, like, this whole thing sort of fucks me up. Like, one time he was like, oh, you're, like, the man I've always dreamed of. And I'm sure he didn't mean it this way, but the first thing I thought was, like... He always dreamed of dating a white guy? Like, what the hell is that about? But, like, that's obviously not it. But just, like, things like that, you know? I think it's always hard. I think people are always going to judge. I think you just have to come to terms with... I personally just had to come to terms with... People are always going to judge you based on what race you date. Like, if I'm dating a white guy, I feel like people could say, like, oh, he's dating a white guy. Like, he only likes white guys. He's, like, a white supremacist. Then if I was dating, like, a black guy or a Latino guy, people would be like, oh, he's got jungle fever, like some fucked up thing like that, not thinking about, you know, all the other factors. And then racism in gay dating can be so overt. Yeah. It can be so overt.
Yeah,
like,
even in, like, the bios.
I went on a date with a guy once, and in the bios, but even, like, and that's absolutely shocking. I would never, but I was on a date with a guy, and he told me, what did he say to me? He was like, I could never see myself dating an Asian guy. And I was like, it's so crazy when people say that because it's like, that's like such a huge group of people that are all so different. They all look so different. People act so different. You could never, how could you make that just sweeping generalization? So that was it for him. But, you know, it's like, I mean, I still went to bed with him, so it's a little pragmatic there. But, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy how it goes like that. But anyway... We got into some...
I had to really be critical of myself in that way too, because I was like, yeah, these white guys are treating you bad, but look at you, girl. You can't just like me, like I can't just be like, I don't know. I almost felt, okay, this is like a dangerous like road to go down. Like, I definitely do not date by race. Like, the only relationship that I have had was with another person of color. Okay. And like when I got to Portland, that was like my first time even like trying to date white men. Or, like, I was even thinking those terms. I was just like, okay, what am I interested in? Art. I'm interested in rhetoric. I'm interested in media. I'm interested in, like, these, like, in experimental music. I'm in Portland.
Right.
Think about the group I'm in.
It's like, the whitest city in town.
Exactly. And I kind of assumed there'd be other, like, kind of like hipster people of color that would be like around, but there weren't really.
They weren't in Portland.
They weren't. Like, well, maybe also the school I was in was like not in Portland. It was like kind of like on this hill, like outside of Portland. And so getting into Portland was like a 20-minute drive. And so like on my campus, it was just like within my groups, like the white men that I was like I was just like, God damn, like it's so normalized. Like this like misogynoir is just so normalized.
Explain that to our listening audience. Misogynoir, what does that mean?
That means like the racism and sexism directed toward people who identify as black femmes or black females. Okay. And that can be perpetrated. It can be perpetrated by people of color. It can be perpetrated by
anyone, I guess. Like because any kind of racism.
We have to realize that we're like, especially like. Because, like, this world is so much based on the free labor of, like, okay, how do I word this? This, in America, I can speak from my experiences here. This country is just, oh, hey, puppy. It's just so much built on white supremacy and white supremacy's best friend, black inferiority.
Okay.
And so when we think about that and relate that to the patriarchy, and then like it's just like understanding intersectionality, understanding that no one person is just one form, one thing. Like we're all these different. We're all at a nexus. You know, we're all at these different points, and just like understanding that these points come together.
Yeah.
To deconstruct, hopefully.
Yeah. And it's just, it's also because, like, I think when you, like, are just raised around only other white people, like, you don't even, realize how you view the world in that sort of singular way. I don't know.
And it's, like, I feel like one of my strongest strengths is the fact that, like, I've crossed all of these borderlines, like going from like whether it's going from Compton into El Segundo every day for school, or like the time that I spent like homeless my senior year, like,
oh my God.
And then still going to these like private schools, and then like going to another expensive private school, like all these times I've just had to like cross borderlines and go to different places and like just kind of like be exposed to a lot of different people has been so crucial to like my like selfhood. But at the same time, it's like not everyone's like that. Not everyone is like
had the diversity of experiences that you've had.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like I feel like, and so then it's so easy to just kind of get like stuck into like one way of thinking and like one way of like respecting another body, and like one way of seeing beauty, one way of seeing like knowledge, one way of seeing strength. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's why, I don't know. I'm okay with like, I don't know. Like, I think that it's made me like I passionately love people, and like I love like conversations, and like I feel like there's like something very like beautiful and like strong with like connecting to another soul, and I'm very fascinated by like how we all connect. Yeah. I don't know what I was answering.
No, I mean that's what makes you an artist. Yeah. So now we're at the end, Jasmine. Is there anything you'd like got coming up that you want to plug? It's okay if not.
Okay, let me think. Is there anything I want to plug? I'm dropping the Fit Form Functions going online.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if you want to check out Fit Form Function, it's fitformfunction.tumblr.com, and I'm going to be posting a link to all of my articles that I've written and all of my reviews and stuff soon. Cool. So check it out. Also follow me on Instagram. Yes. Standardized_sext.
It's a good one.
A standardized text, but a little bit sexier.
Just a little bit sexier. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Jasmine.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Bye.